Ali Safavi is on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, speaking to us, exiled from Iran, from Paris. Ali, good morning.
Good morning to you, Rosie. Thank you. Great to be on your show.
The cry from Trump is to the protesters, take over your institutions. What do you think of the message he sent?
Well, I think, quite frankly, that the international community should unequivocally stand by the Iranian people as they have risen for the fourth time since 2017 to liberate their country from the clutches of the Iranian regime. Naturally, any voice of support, any voice of recognition for their struggle to overthrow this regime and confront the IRGC is welcome news. It's encouragement to them. But I think we must go beyond words, and some concrete actions need to be taken, like expelling the Iranian diplomats from Europe, recalling European ambassadors from Tehran, shutting down the Iranian embassies, cutting the lifeline to this regime. Every barrel of oil that the mullahs sell turns into bullets that pierces the hearts of young Iranians. Last night, I saw a gut-wrenching video of a young protester shot in the left eye, and he bled while mobile phones took his last minutes. And so this is what the Iranian regime is doing. Some 3,000, based upon the information that we have collected from the mortuaries, from the coroner's office, and from families of the protesters, have been already killed by this brutal regime. There are many scenes of the security forces shooting at the crowds from rooftops. In some areas, they impose a complete blackout, they turn off the electricity, and then they go on a rampage and shoot anybody who's on the street. They have imposed curfews in many, many cities beginning at 8 p.m., and they have orders to shoot anyone who moves around. So clearly, this regime has engaged in a slaughter. God knows what the actual casualty figure is, but I think this regime doesn't belong to the international community. It's a pariah state, and all countries around the world must now, after 47 years of appeasing this regime, say enough is enough, and we stand by the Iranian people, by the rebellious youth, by the resistance units to overthrow this regime and bring freedom and democracy to Iran.
What we're also expecting today, the first execution of a demonstrator. This is Irfan Sultani. He's due to be hanged. That's just 4 days after he was seized by the regime for taking part in the protests. Some of the sort of speculation is that the regime wants to do something like this and make it public in another effort to stifle and scare people who are demonstrating.
It's absolutely correct. In fact, the Iranian regime engages in public executions, and as you may know, it's the largest per capita execution of its own citizens around the world. Some 2,200 were hanged just in 2025. As we speak, that protester is not the only one facing death. There are 18 others who are affiliated with the main Iranian opposition that is active inside Iran as we speak, the Mujahideen Khalq MEK, who are also on death row, and they range in age from 22 to 67. So clearly for the regime, execution is a political tool which, as you said, is used to stifle dissent. But I think, quite frankly, that the Iranian people have gone beyond that point. I think the fear factor now seems to be shifting from the Iranian people to the regime's revolutionary guards and suppressive forces, which is why we see that despite this onslaught on unarmed protesters, the uprising has continued now for 17 days. And it seems to me that perhaps we have reached a point of no return.
In which case, what do you anticipate happening?
Well, I think that the international community should step up. And as I said, they should make an unequivocal statement that they wholeheartedly support the Iranian people's efforts to topple this regime. And the organized opposition in Iran, the Mujahideen Khalq, its resistance units, have been, as I said, active since the first day of this protest. They have been protecting the protesters from the Revolutionary Guards. Were it not for their sacrifice, many of them, by the way, are among the 3,000 killed, the regime would have been able to quell this uprising much sooner. They thought that they could do it in 4 days by declaring holiday in the first 4 days, but the uprising hasn't subsided. So I think, despite its ebbs and flows, the regime is the uprising is going to continue until this regime is overthrown. And I wouldn't rule out that the protesters will take over some government institution. Already they have destroyed a lot of governor offices, state-owned banks, various institutions belonging to the regime, some of the homes of the Friday prayer leaders, and a whole host of other buildings and establishments that have a direct hand in the suppression of the Iranian people. So this is far from over, and naturally it's very painful and heartbreaking to see so many young people perish, people who have great futures ahead of them. But naturally, that's a price that freedom exacts. And this time, I think the Iranian people are determined to ensure that their future is free from any form of dictatorship, whether a theocracy or a monarchy.
And when Trump says, I mean, people taking over institutions do so now with the direct endorsement and blessing of the US president, who says, take over your institutions. When Trump makes a claim like that, what do you believe then he's sort of owing to the Iranian people in terms of responsibility to help?
Well, I think it is not only the responsibility of the United States. I think this is a global responsibility. You have a regime in Iran that has been in power for 47 years, and ever since its inception, it has not only brutalized the Iranian people, but also engaged in intervention in the affairs of its neighbors. We call Syria. They supported the fully Bashar al-Assad criminal regime. They were involved in the occupied territories. They were involved in Lebanon. They were involved in Yemen. They were involved in Iraq. They basically had, as they claimed, 5 capitals under their fist. But of course, now the situation has entirely changed. In the region, they are more isolated than ever before. Bashar al-Assad fell, Hezbollah was decapitated, and the regime proxies are under a great deal of duress. And of course, inside Iran, the economy has tanked. Iranian currency is in a free fall, and inflation is runaway. The environment is a disaster. There's no water, there's no electricity, there's no gas, and which explains why Iranian people are up in arms this time, and of course in such great numbers and in such an organized fashion. And so, quite frankly, looking to the future, unlike Iraq, Syria, and Libya, which you saw chaos ensue after the regime fell, in Iran there is an organized resistance. There is a political alternative, the NCRI and Mrs. Rajabi, who's articulated a 10-point plan for the future of Iran, which guarantees gender equality, equal rights, rights of Iranian nationalities, a non-nuclear Iran, and of course, peaceful coexistence with the rest of its neighbors. So you already have an alternative in place, which, by the way, enjoys the support of bipartisan majority of legislatures in the United Kingdom, in the Commons and in the Lords, and of course in the United States as well, and 4,000 actually parliamentarians around the world and 125 world leaders. So the alternative is in place. The organized resistance is active inside Iran. The only thing that is left is for the international community to live up to its commitments and its principles to defend human rights and democracy.
Ali, thank you for your time. Ali Safavi, on the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rosie.